Normal people become terrified of criminals.
Shots were just fired. Police just came out and told us, and we're headed there right now.
They become terrified of their own government.
Let's jump to this story. We got this tweet from AI not kill everyone-ism memes. Okay.
Whoa.
And they are playing a video from Sam Altman, who says he fears the impact that AI is going to have on the election. And it's not deepfakes. He makes a really great point. He says, the main worry I have is not one that gets airtime. On the issue of deepfakes, he says we all, talking about deepfakes is fighting the last war. We all have some degree of immunity to this. We know that when there's a video or a photo or audio, we should check and make sure it could be fake. And then he's asked, well, then what do you mean? And he says, the thing I'm really worried about is customized one-on-one persuasion ability. A foreign adversary that has trained their own AI system that none of us even know about. Like systems on the internet powered by AI that are just like subtly influencing you. The interviewer says, I fear manipulation by AI ease my concerns. I just want to, I bring this up because, guys, 2024 is around the corner. We're going to be off for the last week of this month, so there's only a couple weeks left. We're going to be doing shows and talking about this stuff, but 2024 is just about here. And this is already happening. 100% already, starting in probably 2015 and getting crazier. Actually, I think it's fair to say with the advent of social media, this degree of manipulation has existed and it's been getting crazier and crazier. And as of right now, I'm willing to bet you are already being manipulated by AI. Now, of course, I know the immediate reaction from everybody is, that's not what AI means, Tim. You're talking about algorithms. And it's like, okay, dude, no, we're speaking generally. That computers are automated to the point where they're manipulating information in a variety of ways to sell products or to get people to win elections. And I say AI because it's probably already outside the control of human beings. So when you go on Twitter, when you go on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever, you don't realize this, but yeah, you are probably being influenced by this machine that has no end goal, no real intention. Here's the scary thing. A human being has a goal. I want this person to be president for this reason. An AI has, I want this person to stare at the screen for 10 seconds longer. Mm-hmm. And it will throw whatever in front of your face to make that happen. Now, of course, people are going to say that's an algorithm. Sure, fine. If you're talking about artificial general intelligence, then the real fear is the AGI will make you serve it as a demigod master, and you won't even realize that you live for the machine. But, in the general sense, we are all already being manipulated for the 2024 election. It's happening now.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I've stopped, not completely, but I've kind of stopped taking negative comments seriously, even remotely, if I don't know who they're from. I even tell myself sometimes it's probably an AI. And I know it's not probably an AI, but it's possibly an AI, and I'm just not going to taint my mind with that crap.
You're breaking out of the matrix.
Yeah, but the positive comments I still take seriously.
But what if those are AI?
But they might be.
The thing, you could
dead
never
internet
know.
theory, dude. You know dead internet theory?
I know that 80% of the people on the internet are
fake.
Are fake.
Mm-hmm. And you go and you're talking to a computer.
Dude,
you're standing in front of you. I got 1.8 million followers, almost 1.9 million followers. And so when I tweet, what people think is that there's 1 million, 2 million people all standing there like with their phones up recording, when in reality, maybe it's 100,000, who knows? They have these apps where you can like check how many followers are organic. And whenever I do it, it's like, oh, they're all real or whatever. I don't buy it. I think the whole thing is fake. I tweet something out. I get a bunch of generic random anime squirrels or whatever. And I'm just like,
I wonder if
fake.
The AI that Sam Altman's talking about is like, all it's trying to do is confuse you. So whatever you make a video about, I walked in, the sky was beautiful today. You get a comment of, no, it was really nasty out. Or you say, I really like this candidate for president. Well, that candidate's really nasty. Don't you see? And
I assume the AI wants you to continue to interact with it. That's what its ultimate goal is, because it needs your input to have data to continue to make decisions about what to do next. I mean, I have a very rudimentary understanding of AI, but that's what it seems like it needs. It needs human interaction to continue to basically use us to figure out what you like to do and to potentially behavioral model or whatever. And so what I find interesting is that we have been letting ourselves be susceptible to wanting to interact with the AI for a long time. I mean, this is what we talk about with young teenagers who are essentially addicted to social media because they see all their value in the number of likes, the number of engagements, how long their snap streak is, all of these metrics to say, open your phone right now. You have a notification, you have a click, you want to respond. You don't want to be the one who doesn't respond to the Snapchat story. You have to have something up. Actually, if your Instagram page, if you interact with it enough, it gives you more, it's more likely to show your stuff. Like, it's always driving you back to using it all the time, which is also what the AI wants you to do. The AI wants to continue to learn what you're doing, so it needs you to constantly come back to it.
Right. And he mentioned specifically, foreign adversaries. I think it's important for us to realize that this isn't just China. Like, it's our own government. To what extent are, agencies like the FBI and the NSA using AI to influence American citizens when they go to vote at the polls in 2024? I mean, I think that needs to be a real concern, because you look at an agency like the FBI, who has a long history of entrapping Americans and pushing them and incentivizing them to do certain things. I think, we can't put it past these guys to be using this to reach their own ends.
And private companies, for sure. I like reading about the business plot, this Smedley Butler plot in 1933. These bankers tried to get Smedley Butler to overthrow the U.S. government and install a fascist dictatorship. Smedley Butler was like the top general in the United States. They really wanted to march 500,000 dudes on Washington. This is like a real plot.
Why did they want to do it?
Because federal FDR took us off the gold standard, and they were like, he's going to destroy the economy. We have to take him out of office and put a general in and become fascist like Mussolini. It was so crazy that they're like, and they're just totally willing, like the Federal Reserve formation on the Jekyll Island. These guys have like the private sector. When we talk about foreign agents, that the private sector are foreign agents. Corporations are foreign agents to our government. They're not part of our government. They might exist in the United States, but they are foreign agents. So if they might also very well be the ones trying to manipulate us.
Well, I'm not sure. Well, I mean, we know for a fact it is the government manipulating us, along with the massive corporations. So, welcome to the nightmare. Welcome to hell, baby. It's going to be, look, we talked about this last week. I posted a deep fake of Nancy Pelosi a year and a half ago, and it looked hilariously bad and disgusting. You post a deep fake of Nancy Pelosi now, and it's hilarious and realistic. Where are we going to be with AI voice deep faking? It's going to be perfect. So we're going into 2024. Deep fakes are bad, but the real issue is that there's probably already right now, with GPT being public, there are probably millions of AI chatbot accounts on social media that are programmed just to respond in certain ways, but slightly unique. It used to be that if you searched for a certain phrase, you'd see like 10,000 accounts all tweeting the same exact quote, and you knew it was a bot farm or something. But now they're going to use these large language models to generate semi-unique but similar responses. They're going to program into it, whenever you see anything about with these subject matter, respond with a quote that has these parameters. And now someone's going to get bombarded by a bunch of cartoon squirrels, communist squirrels on Twitter, and they're going to believe it's real life. And then they're going to be like, I need to behave like this because it's normal.
It could be like, if music is played in video, put fire emoji in chat. If user of video says positive things about concept we want them to talk about positively. If they say negative things in chat, if negative words are used, give thumbs down emoji when music plays. Like crazy manipulative.
It's crazy than that. I mean, that's so rudimentary. You're going to get someone, you're going to tweet something like, I think that we need to be back on the gold standard. Ron Paul was right. And the AI will generate a response that is five tweets long, numbered. And it's going to be like, Ian, you're wrong about this. Here's why. And you're going to see a picture of a guy and you're going to be like, well, that's probably a real person. And in reality, it's just one of the faceless husks of the narrative machine being programmed just to convince you that you're wrong.
And they interact with each other. You'll see conversations in the comments, and those could all be AI trying to...
Could all be fake. Could all be not real.
It's possible that we're not even in this room right now. That everyone watching at home is all CGI.
That's where I'm start to be like, just have kids and like spend time with your children, because that's not going to get deep faked out of you. Like, and maybe people will be tricked into thinking their family is not their family, or vice versa.
I want to start asking regular people that I meet, do they have accounts on X or Instagram or TikTok or whatever?
So many people I know are not on X. Like it's hard to be in the media space without being on it. And so I think that we have a warped perspective. I think most people I know are not on, like my just friends that I have made throughout my life are not on it at all. And so There's stuff that blows up online that we know about. We think, oh, this happened and that will influence election. But actually, like, there's a lot of people who don't know about this thing that trended for a week. It's like a separate universe.
Well, one of the stories that we'll get into later is Bill Maher saying, when Roseanne says you're MK Ultra, he goes, who's that?
He was played so ignorant in that interview. with Roseanne. She brought up Klaus Schwab, and he was like, "Who's Klaus Schwab?" I'm
Right.
like, "What, really?"
But no. This is a guy who lives on CNN.
Yeah.
That's Bill Maher's thing. It's like he grew up watching MSNBC, and that is what his worldview is. That's it.
It's so funny though because leftists and progressives look to him as an intellectual. Like how ironic
No,
is
not
that?
anymore.
Really? I
No,
feel
the
like
left,
they do.
the left hates Bill Maher.
The coastal elites though, I feel like some of them.
Yeah, but those are
like-
liberals.
Yeah.
Leftists think
Okay,
Bill
so
Maher's
classical liberals look to him
well,
as an
classical
intellectual
liberals
and,
are
like,
right wing. So classical
all the time.
Classical liberal
Like a
means
crazy riddle.
well, so classical
Not all the time.
classical liberal refers to right wing, like right libertarians.
Right.
Traditional liberal would refer to like Democrats from 15 years ago, and so that's Bill Maher. Leftists think he's right wing, and they call him a fascist, and they call him alt right, and they've called him alt right for like 8 years.
It's
Yeah.
weird how much the left just dragged themselves over and said, no, the moderates are actually far right. They're crazy. Don't listen to them. Like they have just completely moved the map. I think, like if you ever see one of those videos of someone moving a house across a field, like, and we all were just like, okay, sounds good. And now the skew of what's right and what's far right and what's left is so off. I feel like we need to just recalibrate it to where most of America actually is.
I'm wondering, someone super chatted as a joke. This super chat isn't real, but serious question. Have you guys in the chat asked yourselves how many of the people posting are probably not even real and how many of the super chats aren't even real? I'm not even joking.
Undercutting the value of our show.
You'll see
I'm
every,
not
Not
the
even
value.
listening to us.
every once in a while you'll see a comment in the live chat, and then immediately the same comment from a different account. Same capitalization, everything. It'll just be 2 sentences identical.
And the other thing too is, if there is an influence operation, you might be a regular person in the regular chat and you're posting your opinions, and you can't compete with a foreign entity or corporation that is paying for the super chats to make sure their views are more prominently displayed above yours.
And speaking of not being able to compete with AI, man, in day trading, you try and do day trading with crypto, and you can't compete with the AI. You might make a little bit along with it, but that stuff is driving the market.
The crazy stuff is like the crypto arbitrage, where like people make millions of dollars a year doing literally nothing.
Just by like making a cent on a trade.
Yeah,
big, huge trade.
I don't know exactly how it works. But
that's where they'll get it on one market and then immediately sell it on another market where it's slightly different
sort of
price.
when a transfer is executed, the computer can move in and make a deal faster than the human can. So when a human's making a deal, it's going through the system, and the computer just instantly jumps in between and then gets a fraction of a penny from that trade. And then you do that millions upon millions of times, and you are just shaving off fractions of a cent into your account. So there are people out there doing this. I don't know. I was told it's illegal. I don't know anything about it. But there are people who make millions of dollars and they do nothing. Literally, they click go button.
That's wild.
Yeah, I think that happens with stocks and stuff.
Arbitrage exists for like currency. So like
Right.
one currency will have the worth in one place and it's worth way less in the other place, and you'll just take the money, or worth way more. So you take the money there and you go sell it over there,
Yep.
and you just get the exchange rate. It's legal. So
Well, I mean, like in the real world, it makes sense to buy water in one place and bring it to another.
Yep.
Like we talked about this with a lot of disasters when they like make price gouging illegal, and I think price gouging is mostly fine. I mean, that's it. Like imagine there's a disaster and there's no water, so somebody buys a bunch of water and drives it into the disaster zone and sells it for like $5 a bottle, and people are buying it. Well, I'm pretty sure those people don't want to die and they're willing to spend the $5 a bottle. And that person who loaded up all that stuff did a lot of work, bought fuel, drove into a disaster zone, and brought relief water. Why can't they sell it for what they want? If people don't want to buy it, they don't have to buy it.
It becomes
haggle.
questionable if there's limited resources, and they got in early when everyone was going there to get the water for free to bring to the disaster site. But one guy got in like just before and bought it all up.
That
Now
doesn't
he's
mean
selling
anything.
it at a 400% markup.
What do you mean?
Kind of be like, hey, guy.
How do you buy water for free? Are you saying like if they took free relief water and then tried reselling it, that's a different story?
Well, if there was like water to store and then there was a disaster, and then one guy went to the store, bought all the water, and then like 4 hours later, a bunch of the disaster relief guys get to the store to get the water that they're going to bring for free, but it's already bought up.
It's never going to be for free.
Or cheap. They're going to deliver it at no cost.
Right. They'd buy it and then deliver it.
Yeah, but instead it had been bought up by one guy, and he's going to mark it up 500%. I think you could argue that should be illegal.
Why should that be illegal?
Because it's a disaster, and it should be treated like national emergency, security, national defense. So for a dude to try and profit off that, I think is unethical at the very least, and you could argue that it should be illegal.
The question then becomes what other areas are you not allowed to buy a product when you expect high demand?
Maybe non-disaster relief. I mean, if they're not disaster relief situations, that's a different story.
So what about
Martin
medicine?
Shkreli got smacked with for it for
funny.
his medicine. Yeah, he raised like a diet. What was it?
It was oh man, I want to say it has something to do with what's the word, diabetes. I think it was insulin shots. I'm not really totally
Diabetes.
Sure. Not totally sure.
He like marked it up 700%. I don't want to miss.
Yeah, it was like 700%. I don't remember
feel
what
like-
it was exactly.
I feel like the other challenge would be, what if the federal government decides that your issue is not a disaster, and so price gouging's like allowed there? It becomes like sort of unclear when and if we allow some protections and not. Like, I'd rather have a blanket rule: either you're allowed to do it or you're not allowed to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, normally the
Yeah,
market.
it's an interesting point to be made that someone goes to a store and buys all the water right before a disaster, and then after the disaster sells it. Because the question is, how did he know the disaster was coming?
It's like congressmen trading. Like, how many times do they buy defense stocks and then there's an attack?
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing. I've been following this guy that trades exclusively off of like what Congress trades on. It's
Yeah.
doing pretty well. I'm not gonna give you financial advice, by the way, not financial advice, but
Yeah,
it's all
I
off
think
the
what was it?
congressman.
People were saying like the Pelosi tracker was like 20% or something.
It's crazy.
It probably came from
money.
back in the day when like a disaster would hit, and then one guy would run to the store and get all the water, and then he'd come back and be like, "Hey, everyone, I brought all the water, but it's going to be 5 times more." The crowd would be like, "We're not going to put up with that." That was back before like when common sense kind of ruled the roost. Before like he's like, "I have a contract,"
Right,
and
but
you're like, "Yeah."
there's still a problem here. The problem is, in this scenario, how is it that he got to the store and bought the water with no one else realizing they needed water?
Or he just had the fastest car.
Well,
who
or okay,
knows?
so potentially this guy just saw there is a disaster coming. There is starting to be water. Whatever. I'm going to do this rather than prepare my own house. This is the thing I think is worth spending my time to do. And he ultimately made an investment. He decided that this was the thing he should do: buy the water instead of maybe like leave the city or like lock down his house or whatever disaster he's in. I'm really not sure.
The problem with the argument there is that, let's say somebody has a well on their property and they make water. And then all of a sudden demand for water is skyrocketing. Everybody wants the water from his property. So he's like, okay, to maintain this and deliver this much water, I'm going to charge more money. And this is my opportunity. This is why I invested in this. And you say, no, it's a disaster. People need water. You can't do that. Okay, now we'll go to food. Well, now you got a guy who grows lots of food, and then demand spikes as food shortages hit. And they say, no, you can't sell your food for a higher price because we're in a shortage. So we're going to buy your food at a government locked rate. And then if you say that's acceptable, you get into all the other areas. Well, people need clothes, people need shoes, people need fuel, and then you start price locking everything. I understand what you're saying about someone going to a gas station or whatever and buying it up, but the problem is still if a disaster hits, no one has any advanced foreknowledge of the disaster. Perhaps it's the problem of the gas station or the store deciding to sell all of their stock to one guy, and and they say we don't care, you can buy it all.
Yeah, you can also redefine what a disaster is, and that can be used against people. Be like, hey, it's a disaster. You have to give food rationing, things like that.
Like
Yeah, the
COVID.
government then says, well, the economic downturn qualifies as a disaster, so we're taking your water. We're taking all these products from your store and we're going to give them out for free.
That's what worries me, because when the government decides a disaster, these rules would suddenly apply. But again, it's not consistent. There are sometimes communities that need help and the federal government will be like, no, you're not serious enough. And other times they're like, no, we have to intervene here. I mean, wasn't this something we talked about with East Palestine? Like the fact that the chemical spill was a big deal and the federal government kind of ignored it. I'm not saying we should have gone to price gouging, but it is interesting that we would ultimately be deciding this is something the federal government should elect to tell us, and I don't like that.
There was some story where a guy filled up his pickup truck with a bunch of bottles of water, drove into a disaster area and sold them for like $5 each, and he got in trouble. And they were like, how dare you? And my attitude is kind of like, would you rather have $5 water or no water? Well, it was obvious, $5 water. Otherwise, you'll just die. But they were like, yeah, but he's exploiting a crisis. Okay, then just tell him not to bring the water next. He say, okay, I won't bring you any water, and then you all die of dehydration.
In New York, you'll see like umbrella salesmen, and they'll be $1, and no one will ever buy them. And then when it rains, they're like $9 each.
That's right. Boom. Oh, hey,
How
that's
did they
not
know
fair.
it was going to rain?
That's exploitation, but this is true. Guys will be standing outside their little carts or whatever, and the umbrellas will be they'll be like $5, and they'll be in a little bin. As soon as the rain comes, you see a different sign flop down. It's $15, and they sell them like hotcakes. Yep.
Since they're non-essential, I understand. I like that actually. I really like taking advantage of the situation.
And then let's you know what? Fine. I'm sick of Walmart jacking up the price of winter coats as soon as it gets cold out. Have you noticed this? If you're buying winter clothing in summer, it's cheap. But now it's cold and people are freezing to death and they're trying to exploit us. No, it's fine. This is the point of supply and demand. you charge more when the opportunity arises.
Yeah, price gouging and price limiting are both kind of federally. Well, you don't want the government to limit the prices a company can set, because then the company goes out of business and that destroys the economy. But then how do you stop companies from price gouging? What's the rules and the laws on that?
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.